Anything for public forum. As a reminder per the code, council members have 3 minutes to speak during public forum and can speak up to 2 times. Councilman McBroom.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for being here this late. I'm tired. I'm sure you're tired. I'll try not to ramble on, get my points in. The first thing I wanted to just address is, I don't know, maybe 5 hours ago, Lou, you brought up the MDR. So I think everyone knows now, by renewing now with IMEA, that MDR is immediately effective. And that MDR allows Naperville to procure 10% of our peak load from clean sources. And it's been explained to me by a couple of you, and I had one conversation with Director Groth, that number equals 26%. 26% of our energy would be procured through clean sources. So like go to a Constellation and get a nuclear contract, something along those lines. And then you rattle off some other numbers. We're already 11% clean, IMEA. B Hollow comes on, I think that's another 8. So we're around, by renewing the contract immediately, well, in 2027, we would be 45% clean. So I want to ask Director Groth first, and then I got a couple other comments. Getting to that 26% clean, is that an accurate number? And have you confirmed, it's in the contract, and I've seen publications from IMEA that this MDR is moved forward. And that may be because of our influence on the board, holding the vice chair board. Can you confirm that is in fact the case? Upon renewal of this contract, we would move that forward and immediately it would be available?
Director Groth.
Brian Groth, Electric Utility Director. That's correct. IMEA has stated in multiple presentations and multiple board meetings that for any member that signs the renewal, they're able to pull forward the member-directed resource. And then the math behind the 35 megawatts, I computed it as well. 35 megawatts times the 8760 hours in a year, that gives you about 306,000 megawatt hours of energy, and that's about 25.5% of our usage right now.
Okay. So that's very real. I don't know who's going to come up with an argument against that, but that is a very real consequence of not signing this contract. So I've spent maybe 100 hours on this, and I met with a Nest, longtime Nest volunteer this morning. He agreed with me. There's an incredible amount of misinformation going on in this conversation. There's politics involved. Yeah, I've heard accusations that city staff have some kind of personal agendas, that they rigged the consultant that recommended IMEA. These are not honest conversations. He agreed with me. This is not, I want to have an honest conversation, and hopefully we can do that in our workshop and over the next month or so. But the way that I see this, and CEJA is a very real thing. We had a speaker tonight that said our coal plants are going to stay open forever. Well, the law says they're not. 3 years after our contract expires, we're 50% down carbon emissions, and then another 7 years, Prairie State closes, okay? So as far as B Hollow and the timeline, it was 9 years. Contracts for solar and wind are 20 years. So I just don't believe that there's nefarious actors misleading and pressuring us. I think these other member communities just need to know, because these contracts are 20 years, solar and wind. They are 20-year contracts. And I just want to have an honest conversation about that. And I think it's unprofessional that we're not giving them feedback. They just need to know if we're in or not. And this idea that we have some kind of massive leverage and we can push them around, I don't buy that either. You know, maybe they'd like us for reputational, I don't know, but they don't need us financially. So, you know, characterizing this as a bidding process, I don't see it that way either. This is a nonprofit. No one's bidding on our business, okay? This is an option, and we just need to decide whether or not we want to participate in it. And if we don't, then we do need to have a lot of workshops. We need to talk about selling our utility to ComEd. We need to talk about learning what IMEA does for us. That's a multi-year process. You know, the power marketers, sure, let's talk to them. No one's going to bid a price in 2035. Everybody knows that. Everyone knows that. So this talk about shopping, no one can do that. And they're for-profit companies. I'm happy to entertain. I'm open-minded to all these things, and that's why I've been pushing for a workshop to get this out in the public, because this option, life has deadlines, people need to make decisions, and if it's no, that's fine. Then these other member communities can move on. They can plan without us, and that's fine, and they will survive, and the coal plant will stay open, okay? Or we choose to participate. I just think a decision needs to be made, and we're elected to make hard decisions. I understand it's a hard decision, all right? So we're here to make hard decisions, and you know, workshops should be great. I hope we can have honest, adult discussions about this, and kind of get away from this hate. You know, there's salesmen, there's people that have agendas, there's people that are lying to us. I don't think any of that's true, so thanks.
Okay, Councilman White, I think we're going to need another extension because we still have new business and there's other councilmen who want to speak during public forum.
Yeah, Mayor, I move to extend the meeting to 12:30 a.m.
Second, Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 12:30 is the new time. Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think it's important that Councilman McBroom brought up the MDR. I know Fernando had brought up the Green River project. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but important distinction with that. And I think a big reason why the Bee Hollow one was particularly highlighted was that Green River, and I had to look this up, so again, please shoot me an email if I'm wrong, but that it was 50 megawatts, whereas Bee Hollow was 150, which logically you'd conclude that you'd want to be into a longer term contract because of more of the financial incentives around that. Again, keep in mind that Bee Hollow produces 6 megawatts of peak capacity. A few folks here, I did write down some notes, so I was going to see if they would come back up because I had a couple questions. Tim Ferrito, you spoke, made a couple comments about the contract and the extension as far as them bringing it to us now. I guess one of the questions I had is, isn't IMEA, or in your opinion, from what you've looked at, do you think IMEA is trying to force us into a contract? Do they, you know, other folks have talked about how they need us, we don't need them. What was your opinion on that?
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to force us into anything. I watched their presentation at the PUAB, and they were far from salesmen. They were very legalistic. When asked a question, they told an honest answer. I saw just a group of people that were like, just wanted to know if we're going to be with them or not, you know, post 2035.
Sure, sure. And then the other one, I guess, too, related to that, would it be more prudent for Naperville to develop its own plans, to develop this on its own, as opposed to going with IMEA, develop its own energy production?
Well, to develop their own energy production, I would think it'd be very difficult. It would be very difficult to mimic or to get anything close to what IMEA is going to have. The experience they have, the skill level, like I look at it from a trader standpoint, they are very skilled at what they're doing. And you saw that they put together some work on the transmission cost. And it was a 3-page elaborate piece of work. They are very, I see that staff there is skilled, experienced, and someone that I would want to be part of. So,
thank you. I had a couple questions for Mr. Jim Flar, if you don't mind. It looked like you had slides earlier, Director Lacoste. Are those slides still up there? Do you know?
I got the thumb drive.
By chance? Okay.
Sorry. Mr.
Sorry to drag this out, everyone. Thought it'd be important.
I'm going to reload my thumb drive.
Thought it'd be important to hear from a member of the PUAB board meeting, or board, that's been at the meetings. Thank you. Asking this because we've heard a lot of talk about cost of IMEA compared to other greener energy sources, wind, solar, et cetera. So wondering if you would be able to talk about that from what we've seen at the PUAB meetings, listening to consultants and other
Sure.
folks.
Sure. I'm kind of a cost guy. This is kind of what I've been focusing on at the PUAB. And anything that I talk about here today, I'm trying to keep it within the confines of what we were told at the PUAB meetings. I can go on the internet and find almost anything. I can find any answer you want in any direction you want it to go. By going out to the internet, I stayed within the confines of the testimony of the people that were at our meetings. So that's what this is all about. My only exception to this is this slide right here, which is the trend of solar and wind prices in the United States, both regionally and nationally. I'm not focusing on the numbers, I'm looking at the direction that it's going in. And I would like to say that this era, when these data points were established, was in an environment when there were federal tax credits available to these developers, investment tax credits, production tax credits, et cetera. Those are gone under the new federal legislation. So if anybody thinks this trend is going to reverse itself, I think they're mistaken. I compare that to the price that Naperville has gotten for it, or has paid for its power over the last 10 years. This is a plot that IMEA provided to us at the first PUAB meeting we had. And I'll focus your attention on those blue bars, because the blue bars is the actual energy, bonds, and et cetera that we pay to IMEA. The red bars are transmission costs, which IMEA has no control over, and it doesn't matter where we buy our power from, our transmission cost will be the same, whether it's in MISO or PJM. One of the NEST members tried to imply that if we bought our power in PJM, that those costs would be a third of what they are. IMEA put together a technical report that Mr. Ferrito addressed, refuting those statements that were made. So what were we told in the PUAB meetings? We've talked about B Hollow. IMEA, I asked a specific question. What does it cost to produce power at B Hollow? The IMEA folks told us that that price range is roughly $70 to $75 a megawatt hour. We have our own little demonstration solar farm over at Springbrook Water Reclamation Plant. That price today is $76, but it has an escalation clause, so in 2035, that solar farm is going to cost $90 a megawatt hour. And CES, who was at our second PUAB meeting, uses these prices that are displayed here, $88 and $95 for solar and wind. This is what the professional consulting firm that we paid big bucks to come in and tell us what's going on, told us is what they're using for solar and wind in their models. So what's the price of coal? Well, once again, we'll go back to the February meeting with IMEA. I asked the question directly of the executive team that was here, what does it cost to produce a megawatt hour of
Mr. Fuller, hold on one second.
I'm sorry to
Councilwoman
interrupt,
Gibson?
Mr. Fuller, but point of order, Mayor, we're in the public forum part of our meeting, and Councilman Wilson's time's at 8 minutes. We have a workshop scheduled in
Yep.
2 weeks, and it's midnight. Can we,
Yeah,
there's a lot of members of our
I
community
think
that care
that's,
about this.
that's a valid,
That should be
valid
hearing
point.
this.
Valid point. It's, our rules are 3 plus 2, so
We're at 8
he's gone beyond,
minutes.
correct. Okay, so we're going to have to move on to the next.
Okay.
Okay, any other city council speakers? Moving on to new business. Councilman McBroom.